to the CMN Church Planting Podcast. My name is Aaron Burke. I'm the host, and we are all about helping church planters, church multipliers be all that God's called them to be. The whole vision of CMN is a healthy church in every community. And today, I am with Jeff Leake, who is like the Godfather of Church Planting. Lots of wisdom is going to be given to you today for those who are planting, want to reproduce as a church and multiply. Jeff, you've been doing this for a few years longer than I have. So I want you to give us a little bit of your backstory, planting, kind of the behind the scenes of your life.
Yeah, so I actually, believe it or not, never have planted a church, but I have helped other people plant. So back in 1996, we sponsored our first or parented our first church plant. And we have done basically one a year for 33 years. So we just planted.
I want people to hear that. One a year for like 33. Legitimately 33 different churches.
33 new churches planted that we have parented over the years. And then a lot of the churches we planted have planted. So we have some granddaughter and great-granddaughter churches that are out there.
Okay, so we're going to kind of go the behind the scenes of that. But let's just talk about from the very beginning, 1996, what made you want to plant out of starting churches? What was the heartbeat behind it?
Yeah, so I guess part of it started because I was serving on the sectional committee for our district, and our assignment was to help the home missions churches. And so many of them were struggling, and I was pastoring a church that had the means to get behind church plants, but the format I wasn't free to do it in that position. So I asked my presbyter, would it be okay if I planted the next one directly? And so we sponsored our first church back in 1996. And then through that whole process, God kind of called us to it. Like it became something that was just a part of our DNA to help believe in, invest in and coach new churches that were getting started.
Okay, so you've got this part of your DNA, 30 plus, church plants or startups later. Most of those have started other churches. Why is this part of your mission? Why does it matter? Why does church planting y'all's thing and not a school or why is this your thing?
Yeah, so for us, it was a God moment that happened in my life when we were looking at growing. We were growing as a congregation at the time. We were looking at building a brand new building. And it was during that season where we were having a hard time locating property. And God spoke to me as I was praying about that and asked me, would you be willing to be more concerned about the needs of your city than the need of your congregation? Really, the promise was, if you seek the kingdom first, I'll add all these things to you. So will you put the needs of your city ahead of the needs of your congregation? And for us, that prioritization of the kingdom was what led for a lot of his favor coming upon our ministry. And so we planted 5 churches in 5 years, and that was our initiative. And after we planted our 5th, God...
And this all was in 1996. You started this...
96 to 2001.
Okay, 5 churches in 5 years.
Yeah, every year we would spin out another congregation. We'd send a staff member and a group of people from our church, planted in a circle all around us.
And this was presented to the church. This is the vision God gave you?
Yep. Yeah, and so we, that call was to plant 5 and 5. And we did it based on that promise, Matthew 6:33. Mm-hmm. After planting 5, property opened up. We bought 30 acres, built a new building. And after we were finished building a new building, we went back into planting. So for us, it was an obedience thing, right? Okay, so you asked why. Well, in Pittsburgh, where I live, there's just a dearth of good life-giving churches, especially along the rivers of the city. And so the vision of CMN is a healthy church in every community. Right. And there are a lot of communities in my region that didn't have a healthy church. So our ambition was not just to grow one large church. Some people think if you're going to be a parent church, then you can't pastor a growing church, right? Like it's either you got to choose church multiplication or church growth. And really, it's not an either or. It's as you get in the flow of building the kingdom, God adds to you. It can be a both and.
Right. What have been some obstacles, some barriers, some pain points of planting, starting new churches? What kind of comes to your mind?
Yeah, so when you're multiplying and you're sending people out to another church that you're multiplying into, it's the loss. Like you lose leaders, you lose friends, You're sowing into something beyond yourself. And so that's the pain of it. And then there's all kinds of other challenges. I mean, there's relational challenges, and there's communication issues, and there's expectations you have to work out. But probably the biggest thing is just the loss. Like you are giving out of yourself. But the other side of that is eventually is what you sow, you reap, right? So God just repays and supplies.
Okay, talk about that to the pastors that are listening to this, because I hear this all the time. I would plant, I would go multi-site, I would do this, but I don't want to lose these people. I'm going to lose them. I've worked so hard to get this, and they need to hear that Allison Park, even your site, because I've been to that, the site with the 33 acres. It's beautiful. It's amazing. Like, God has been faithful to replace the people you have sent out.
Absolutely. So again, for us, the promise was seek first the kingdom. All these things will be added.
Right.
So since we started Planted, we have tripled in size. Right. So over the 30 some years, we're 3 times larger than we were when we started. Plus, we've planted all of these churches. So from a kingdom perspective, what God promised that he would do for us, he's done, right? Multi-site actually allows you to plant and keep, right? So basically, you can multiply and keep them as a part of your congregation, which when we started, multi-site wasn't even invented, really. It was in the process of being imagined at the time. So for us, it's not so much about church planting or multi-site. It's really multiplying to reach people, to put healthy churches in communities that need them. And when you do that with the right motive and the right mindset out of obedience, God always meets us in that place. And that's part of the beauty of it.
Okay, talk about your ideal person to plant. Who do you send out? When you sit there and you cast a vision, I've got 5 churches in 5 years we want to plant. Who are you looking for?
Yeah, so I look for people that have, number one, passion. Okay, so they have demonstrated that they're hungry, that they have proven themselves in some of their leadership capacity, and then that they have a certain kind of skill set. They have to be good gatherers, they have to be good team builders, and they have to have that sense of calling to be a pastor, right? So whether that's a campus or a church plant. Now, and when you have a church planter, they also have to be good communicators, right? Sometimes with a campus pastor, if it's a video situation, maybe that's less of a priority. But those would be some of the factors I'd be looking for in a multiplier.
All right, let's make it fun. What are you not looking for? What are the things you see and you go, man, I want to avoid that at all cost?
Yeah, so someone who lacks teachability and who... So, okay, this isn't necessarily a negative. Some people are called, they are actually more effective at taking over something that exists already. You do have to have a certain entrepreneurial calling and capacity to be able to step in and produce something new. There are some people that are really good at taking what exists and making it better. And so I'm looking for that person who's willing to take that risk, who loves to invent and dream something that's new, who isn't expecting you to hand it to them. I mean, that's always a difficult thing whenever you're trying to get something started. But for me, the biggest thing is passion. I mean, somebody that has that willingness to just go for it is a big igniter, I think, for the whole journey.
All right, so let's say I'm part of Allison Park. I have a passion. I'm teachable. I want to start something new. What can I expect from Allison Park as they send me out? So you got sending churches are sitting there going, what am I signing up for when I'm sending them out? Am I floating the whole bill? Am I running everything for them? Like, what was your model when it comes to those?
So I actually think that's something good for you to define, because there's a lot of different ways to approach that. For us, when we started, we said we're going to support the pastor for 3 years and then gradually wean off the salary for the future. But now what we do, because most of the time, if we follow the roadmap of planting with a large launch, we just commit somewhere between 30 and 50,000 so that the planter can get matching funds. We commit coaching, and community to them so that they have a place to belong and someone to help problem solve with them.
Right.
We promise to send them however many people they can recruit out of us to be able to get started.
Will you bring them on the stage?
Oh, absolutely. We'll bring them on the stage and pray over them and tell people that if you feel called to do this, we're going to back you up. And then, basically, we will carry a church as a dependent on us, right? So we're a parent and they're the daughter church for 9 to 18 months. Our goal is within 18 months that you've become a general council church and have your own board and, your own finances and you're leading effectively. So we don't want to carry somebody for too long because we're not looking for them to be a dependent church. We want them to be a thriving congregation that becomes a sister to us. Now, if they're a multi-site for us, then we view that a little bit different, right? We put a little more investment in on the front end, and we don't expect to let them go on the back end. But when we plant a church like that, we want them to be launched healthy, right, and to continue to grow and to be able to do that out of their own self-governance.
Have you had to step back into a church? Take it back over?
Nothing real quickly. Over 10 years when we've had a pastoral transition. Actually, 2 of our campuses became campuses because we adopted them back in after they had a difficult pastoral transition. So the multi-site allowed us to rescue a church that was struggling.
In the governance structure of these plants, do you have oversight or is it just relational oversight?
Yeah, so we write it into the constitution of the new church plant.
Yep.
That I will hold an overseer role in their documents so that it allows me to speak into the life of the church if they hit a problem.
Okay.
So we have negotiated with our district to allow for that to become a part of their constitution, that as we plant them and they're released to become general counsel, that they stay relationally connected to us. And that's important because, when a new church gets started, you never know what develops in that church board in terms of culture.
Right.
And they may say, like it says, a Pharaoh came up that knew nothing about Joseph, right? So it's sort of like you just don't know what might happen down the road.
Right. Okay. And then does the plant have any financial responsibility to come back to pour back into the network, to connect it with y'all?
Not for us. We have made that something that is suggested, that they pay it forward either by planting or by investing back in our network. But we've not made that a requirement. There's a lot of paybacks. Like if you get matching funds from an organization, you have a payback.
Right.
There's other commitments that a local church made. So we decided not to make that an extra burden on a brand new church to have to pay back into the network that I lead. It's always wonderful when that happens. Often I'll just say the churches that decide to sow back are often the ones that are the healthiest.
Yes.
Because they have the mindset. Because sometimes churches don't multiply because of fear, and sometimes new churches that get planted don't sow into other things because of fear.
Right.
And so you have to break fear to stay in the growth mindset or the multiplication mindset.
Okay, so the Assemblies of God has a PAC model that I think is a game changer.
Oh.
And you have been one of the champions of the PAC.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have no clue what a PAC is. They're listening to this, they're watching this, which, by the way, if you are listening to this and watching this, make sure you subscribe. We're going to be putting out new content all the time. But for those that don't know what the PAC is or don't utilize the PAC because they don't understand, maybe their district has not really fostered multiplication, explain the PAC to us.
Okay. So we actually started doing parent-affiliated church planting before it was actually a legitimate thing.
Okay.
So in the in the 1990s when we planted our church, it was sort of understood by my presbyter and district that the church that we were planting we would oversee. But that actually wasn't legal to do. So when we planted our first one, they actually weren't an entity yet. And we had this understanding that we were overseeing. So in 2000, I think it was 9, there was language put to the general council where it was adopted. So general council is when a church basically is independent, meaning they're self-governing. every new church up until 2009 was district affiliated. And so parent affiliated church, or PAC, is just where the district or national office allows for one church to be able to govern another. And that permission has allowed for things like multi-site, which, you're
Right.
going like crazy doing that, or helping a new church get started so that they have the proper covering and support needed until they're healthy. And so PAC church planting has revolutionized the approach and creativity for how it can happen.
Okay. So if someone wants to start a PAC, a multi-site, wants to launch a campus through the PAC, what's the process to make that happen?
Filling out a piece of paper, honestly.
It is so easy.
It is. I mean, it's just an ecclesiastical designation. Technically, when you start something and you're overseeing it, you already have it going. A PAC is just telling your district and the national office that you plan to keep overseeing that church for a time. And so maybe some of you even have that going on right now, and it's not getting counted properly, all you have to do is fill out the form.
Okay. All right, let's talk about failures in this. So launching a campus, it doesn't work. Putting a pastor in place, it doesn't work. You've been doing this for a little bit longer than I have. Talk to the pastor who has tried to multiply, tried to go multi-site, tried to go multiple services, and has failed. How do we get it to try again?
I mean, none of this happens without risk. And anytime you're going to attempt to do something like this, there is a possibility that it could fail. I would just say, get as much training as you can ahead of time. I mean, CMN is providing some amazing training. Launch and multi-site both provide such great tools.
Yep.
So that you can have as much of the thought work done to prevent a failure ahead of time. Get some good coaching and some good input. But honestly, I don't know what your experience is, Aaron, but most of the churches that we've started have not failed. They've gone through a season. Some of them, because of transitions, have closed down the road 10 years later.
Right.
But our track record is in the planting of the 33 plus, that if you have a good training and good backing, good coaching, I think you should expect to succeed. And if you've had a failure, maybe I would just ask the question, did you have that backing and training going into? I mean, is that your experience?
Absolutely. I mean, so we do a multi-site track now, training at CMN. That is a game changer. I know you teach it, I teach it, and this isn't the 90s anymore. When we're thinking multi-site, multiple locations, church planting, this isn't like we're getting on new territory. This has been done.
Oh, yeah.
It's been done, and we can learn from best models out there, best practices.
I don't think there's a reason why you should fail in this climate.
Absolutely.
There's enough resource and enough backing and enough finances,
right,
that you should be able to go into it expecting that it's going to work.
Yeah. I'd love to ask this question. I think it's important to ask, how have you stayed motivated and healthy and a person of integrity for so many years doing this thing for the long haul? What's your advice for pastors?
Well, that's a big one there, huh? In terms of staying motivated in the multiplication game, I love being able to sit in the service of one of the places that we helped to open and watch the church planter that we helped establish. I just find so much pride. It's like watching one of your kids score a touchdown, right? It's like there's so much joy in that legacy. One of the things that I think I'll probably be quoted, maybe it'll be on my tombstone, is life in ministry is not going to be measured so much by what I do, but what I set into motion.
Very good.
And I love the idea of this as a legacy thing, that you sow seed, you set something into motion that you may have nothing to do with after it gets started, but you reap the benefits for eternity for what you began and set into motion. So I think that's probably what keeps me motivated. Staying healthy is just about pace. It's about learning how to process pain. And it's about keeping yourself where you have a clarity about the call that God has on your life for the moment you're in. I mean, that's just a real brief snapshot of it.
Can I talk to you about the processing pain part? Because a lot of ministry is a lot of pain.
It is.
And you've dealt with a lot of pain. We've all dealt with it. How have you processed pain?
Yeah, you got to know who to talk to. You gotta take the time away to recover. You got to go to the Lord with it. You got to learn how to forgive. Yeah, it's, in multiplication, let's just say it. When you multiply, there's a lot of potential pain there. Sometimes actually, there have been some of my moments when I've had something gone sideways on me, and I've thought, do I really want to keep doing this? Is this really worth it? But the option is then to shrink back and die. And I would much rather, I look back on the 30 plus year journey of both ministry and multiplication, and I would say I don't have any regrets. There are some things that didn't go well, and there's some moments of betrayal and hurt, but the risk has always been worth it.
Wow.
So I would just say, keep going. Don't let a moment of pain and disappointment stop you, because God always has a way of making up whatever it is that we feel like we've lost.
Yes. Any last advice for planters out there, multipliers out there, people listening to this podcast today?
I would just say, man, I'm so proud of you. If you're dreaming that dream, we are behind you. We are praying for you. We want to help you. That's what CMN is really all about. We want to create a community and a culture that you can belong to, that you can be a part of.
Jeff Leake, you are a general. I've always heard it said that success is not really what we do, it's who you raise.
Yeah.
And so much of what you've done is you've just raised up unbelievable leaders and planters, and y'all need to know Jeff Leake more. You need to be involved in what he's doing there. And if you are interested in planting a church, we have iwanttoplantachurch.com. You can go fill out an assessment there, and it'll just get you in the pipeline of learning more. You can always reach out to me, reach out to Jeff. We want to help you with that. And make sure, if you're part of the CMN tribe, or if you want a tribe, this is a tribe to be part of. We have our big CMN conference every March. That's always a huge deal where we gather together. It's like a giant family reunion of a bunch of crazy people who plant churches and multiply churches. I'm just a firm believer that the best days for the church are still ahead. God loves the church. We've got a lot of exciting things happening, and we're part of an amazing movement. Yeah. I mean, you were just in Indonesia, doing stuff all over the world. It's amazing what our movement is doing around the world.
It is.
And I know we're honored to be part of it. But thanks for listening to CMN Church Planting Podcast, and we will be part of the next episode with you. We have incredible leaders, incredible church planters, incredible multipliers. And so make sure you check out every single episode when it drops. And make sure you subscribe, like this. Hey, shoot us a message on Instagram. Let us know how we're doing and what we can do to make these things better, and who you want to hear interviewed, and we'll make it happen. Thanks.